Britain was the policeman of the world, enforcing the peace is decided by Britain. Sea power was needed for this enforcement. No one could match the British on the seven seas. The Royal Navy was stronger than any two navies combined. By 1910, the British Empire was the biggest empire the world had ever seen. Other than the empire, Britain was the biggest power around, and its merchants had an influence even where the British did not rule. India provided the muscle and money for empire building. How did this happen? Well, it began long, long ago, as all good stories begin. The Portuguese and the Dutch were well established in the Indian trade. The British were late entrants. A group of London merchants received permission from Queen Elizabeth and sent a fleet of 3 ships to India under James Lancaster in the year 1591. The British could not land a trade in India. The Portuguese and Dutch were well established there and would not allow it. So Lancaster sailed around Kanyakumari to reach the Malay Peninsula. Lancaster hung around the Malay Peninsula, trading a little among the islands there. But the main business was preying on Portuguese and Spanish merchant vessels. They returned to England in 1594 with this loot. A group of London merchants received a charter for a monopoly on trade with the East Indies. In 1600, these 101 merchants formed what would become the East India Company, the world's first joint stock company with extraordinary powers granted to them by their queen. The first voyage of the company set out in 1601 under James Lancaster. The English were still too weak to challenge the Portuguese or the Dutch in India, so Lancaster sailed again to the Malay Peninsula. On the way, they did a little trade in slaves in Africa. This time they managed to capture the San Tome, a Portuguese merchant ship sailing from Madras to Portugal. The next 10 voyages followed the same pattern, a little trade, slave trading and looting merchant ships of other countries. The English thus grew proficient in sea battles as they kept preying on merchant shipping around the world. The East India Company became rich with the plunder from Portuguese, Arab, Indian and other nations' ships. With prosperity comes the need for respectability. The first factory was at Masulipatam on the east coast in 1611. The second was at Surat, on the west coast of India in 1612. The company started the process of becoming respectable. They were still involved in the slave trade and there were occasional skirmishes on the high seas. But actual trading took precedence and the company soon became the largest contributor to the British revenue. The English company was favored by the Mughals. The Portuguese often indulged in missionary work trying to convert the native population. This was resented by the Mughals. The English focus was only on trade and profits. The company brought no missionaries in the early years. Henry Avery operated only a few years as a pirate, but he carried out one of the biggest piracies till then. There was a huge bounty on his head, but he escaped with his share of the loot. The Ganj-i-Sawai was the flagship of the Mughal fleet and was a rich prize. Henry had been a pirate only for a short time, but he was an experienced sailor. Henry was a Royal Navy man who had mutinied and stolen a Royal Navy ship. He set his eyes on this rich prize. In 1695, Henry, with a motley crew of Europeans and Americans and a fleet of 5 ships, first caught the escort ship the Fateh Muhammad and sacked it. They found nearly £50,000 worth of treasure, a huge sum those days. The pirates pillaged and ravaged the royal ship the Ganjai Savai, the men were tortured and the women raped. The pirates transferred treasure worth 600,000 pounds to their ships and let the Mughal ships free. The population of Surat was furious. They surrounded the English establishments. The Mughal governor of Surat had to take the English into protective custody to save them. In similar circumstances, would the British have behaved so decently is a question that comes to mind. An angry emperor closed down English factories. Piracy on the high seas was not much of a concern for the English. They were the masters at it. But the emperor's actions affected their profits. Imports from India fell from £800,000 in 1694 to £30,000 in 1695. This awoke their conscience. The English begged forgiveness from the emperor and prostrated before him in open darbar. The company also promised to make good the losses suffered. The emperor pardoned them and restored all their rights. The English had their revenge years later when they bundled out the aged Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. The British offered a bounty of £1,000 and launched the first worldwide manhunt for him. A few of Henry's men were caught and some executed. Henry vanished as did some of his men. There were rumors of sightings but no confirmation. The last real news was that he was in the West Indies, sheltered by one of the corrupt British governors there. By the time the Royal Navy reached there, he had flown the coop, never to be seen again. The treasure he stole was never recovered.